For those of you online, we'll be waiting just a couple minutes before we get started. Hello, Marino Valley College. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. We'll let individuals make their way in and get settled in. For those of you online, thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Ready. Good afternoon, Marino Valley College. It's 12:55, so I'm going to get us started. I'm Monica Green. I'm the Norco College president, and it has been a pleasure serving as the chair for the Marino Valley College President Search Committee. In winter, Riverside Community College District Chancellor Dr. Waldab Isak announced the beginning of a search to identify the next president of Marino Valley College. The district selected the Association of Community College Trustees, ACCT, to assist with the presidential search process. ACCT has conducted over 750 community college searches and brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our process. ACCT's mission is to strengthen community college governance through education and advocacy. Dr. Bradley Eversole serves as our ACCT search consultant and has assisted the chancellor and community college throughout this important process. He does not operate alone, and we are very fortunate to have Julie Golder here today from ACCT to help us facilitate the Q&A process. At the beginning of the spring semester, there were 2 one-hour public forums or listening sessions and a student virtual survey that aided in the development of the presidential profile. In early March 2025, the national search for MVC's next president commenced. By April 15th, ACCT delivered a robust and diverse applicant pool. A special note of thanks to our 15 search committee members representing faculty, classified professionals, confidential, and management who selected qualified candidates to interview over a period of 2 days. This amazing dedicated group of search community members selected 3 highly qualified leaders. Thank you for attending today's 3rd of 3 open forums this week. This open forum is live streamed in a view-only platform. Now it's not time to turn the facilitation of the open forum over to today. We have Claudia. Claudia, please come on up. Claudia is our district office senior human resources liaison. And she'll introduce today's finalist and review the open forum ground rules and assist in the moderation of the open forum. So thank you, Claudia. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Dr. Good afternoon, MVC. I'm so very happy to be here and experience this search with you. And so I am delighted to introduce to you this afternoon, Dr. Michael Ritterbrown, joining us today for this presidential public forum. Before we welcome him, let's please remember our ground rules, as you know. 1, we're going to do opening remarks, 3 to 4 minutes that we're going to hear our candidates speak today. We have 2 general questions to begin that conversation, and our moderator will be asking those questions. 5 minutes before the session ends, we will allow time for closing remarks. As you entered the room, you did receive an index card. If you wish to submit a question, please feel free to fill that out, and I'll be walking around in the room collecting those cards from you. Also, please know you did also receive a form. If you would like to submit any comments, please feel free to do so and submit before the end of this meeting. I will be taking them immediately to our district office for our chancellor's review. And so, with further ado, let's welcome our candidate, Dr. Michael Ritterbrown.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for taking your time this afternoon to come to this forum and for giving me the opportunity to meet with you and answer your questions this afternoon. You have a beautiful campus. And one of the things I would also say is that in reviewing the research for this campus and in looking at the documents that you've provided, it's really clear that you have built a very intentional community here, one that is focused very, very solidly on student success and student well-being. Everything from your website, as I came to your website, the first thing I saw was student pathways, front and center. Which is unusual for a college to really put that out there. Your commitment to guided pathways, which forms the foundation of your strategic enrollment management plan. Your commitment to success teams. You are a model throughout the state. So I want to thank you for your commitment to our students. I've been a community college educator now for 29-ish years. I started as an adjunct English instructor. And when I came to community colleges, I didn't know a lot about what community colleges were. And what I discovered very quickly was that the purpose here, what we do here really matters. And I think it matters because we are the only entity in higher education that gives every student who wants the chance at a college education the chance to get one. We accept 100% of the applicants that come to us, and that's unique. And I quickly figured out that that was where I wanted to spend my career. That's what I thought was important. And I have at this point served in pretty much every instructional position, from adjunct English instructor to full-time tenured professor to department division chair, academic dean, and now vice president. And I can say that this has been my commitment has never wavered. My enthusiasm for our students and for our college has never wavered. And I think that what we do matters because for so many of our students, the stakes are so incredibly high. This is their opportunity to create their future, to change their lives. And for many of our students, this may be the only opportunity. So for us, all of you, our classified professionals, our faculty, our staff, and our students, it is our collective responsibility to work together to make sure that the goals of our students are realized, and that shared responsibility is a collaborative responsibility, and that we are truly a student-centered organization. What drew me to Marino Valley, as I said, is your sense of purpose, your intentionality. I haven't been out applying for president positions broadly. I chose Marino Valley College because I think there's real opportunity here, real opportunity to make a difference. And that the foundation that this college has built, the intentional foundation that you have built, is impressive and amazing. And the focus that you bring to your master plan, to your vision statement, to your website, are very apparent. And I'm going to say from my conversations with your students this morning, students understand the commitment that you bring to your work here. I'm also impressed with your commitment to research-based strategies to serve your students. Your commitment to guided pathways is impressive. Many colleges give lip service to guided pathways. Few colleges make it part of their foundation. You have made it apparent in every aspect that you are committed to that research-based methodology, to serving students not just from in terms of perception of what they need, but in terms of studying what they need, in terms of speaking to the students, in terms of paying attention to the research. All of this signals that this college understands what it means to be of and for the community. And I think that's an important part of what we do, central to what we do here, and central to the position that you're hiring now, the position I'm a candidate for, that your president be a part of your community and part of the community, understand the needs of our region, of our students, and be able to be a part of creating a solution together, turning the goals of our students and our community into a reality. And this is what drives my work every day. For the last decade, my focus has been on equitable student success, with a particular focus on equitable classroom practice. I was an Aspen Fellow 2 years ago. This was the subject of my capstone project with them. I've also led institutional change efforts, something I've both studied and taught at the doctoral level. And what I can tell you is that change is the one constant in higher education. It will always change, and we need to change and adapt with it. but we need not to change for change's sake. We need to change because we understand the need to change. And I think you've all done a wonderful job of identifying the need for change, the need to move forward. Your goal of becoming a comprehensive community college is a worthy goal, one that I would like very much to participate in. And I think you have an advantage being a young college. You were established in 1991. You don't have the weight of accretion. You are creating your history rather than being burdened by it. I'd like to be a part of creating that history with you and for our students. I see enormous potential in what you've already built. As I said, you're a college, knows what you are, where you're going, and why. And I see a community that I would be honored to join and serve. Your mission aligns with the deepest commitments of my own career to student success and to building a college where everyone belongs and every student has genuine opportunity. So thank you again for inviting me, and I look forward to your questions.
And Dr. Ritterbrown, your first question, based on what you know about MVC at this point in time, what will your priorities be during your first year as president?
I think the first year is essential. The most essential part of the first year of a presidency is to understand. I think in my career, I've worked with 5 different presidents. And what I've known, what I've seen, what I've observed in those presidents is that those who come in with an agenda for change rarely succeed. Those that come in with an agenda to understand and to build on the strengths of a college, to recognize the need for change in areas that need it is the most important. So the first year, at least the first 6 months, is about understanding, is about listening. It's about finding out where the college is going. And again, you've done a terrific job of articulating where you're going. You have a focused vision. You're not trying to serve a number of different goals. You've focused your goals. You know where you're going. And I think it's important for a president in that first year to listen and to understand the direction that needs to be taken, the strengths, potential weaknesses, opportunities from outside, to get to know the community, to get to know the student population, to understand the issues, the difficulties that the college faces, and to listen to the diverse voices from within that community. So the priority for the first year is to understand who you are and where you need to go, and to form the foundation for moving forward with all of you.
Excellent. As the new president, everyone will know your name. How will you get to know the students and employees?
Well, I think the only way to do that is to get out into the community, the college community and the community at large. When I started at Glendale Community College, the president was Dr. John Davitt. He was one of the longest serving presidents in community college history. What I learned from John was that you get out into the college. You don't sit in your office and wait for people to come see you. You get out and get to know them. And when I was talking to your constituent groups this morning, one of the things I said is it really is important to be able to listen to those voices and not wait for voices to come to you, but to get out, meet people, walk around, go to events. One of the things that we hear from students most often is that they want to get to know us, the college community, not just in a context like this, not just in a context where we invite you, the community in, but in a larger context, to go to events with students, to meet them, to talk to them, to hear their voices, certainly to go to meetings with students, to hold public forums. This is actually something that I like to do as a leader on a regular basis. Get together with groups of people who are willing to take their time out to talk about an issue or many issues, and to hear from all of you, because that's how we make our college strong. Colleges aren't shaped by one person. Colleges are shaped together. One of the things that I took away from my Aspen Fellowship, one of the presidents there said, you can't do everything at a college, but you're responsible for everything. And you need to take that responsibility seriously. And if you're responsible for everything, you need to know. You need to know what's going on, and you need to hear from people who agree with what you're doing, from people who think you could do a better job, and why. So how do I get to know all of you? I make that a priority. Get out, know people's names, know who they are, know what their families are like. One of the things that was most impressive to me about John was he wouldn't just see you and say, hey, how are you? He'd say, I know your dog was sick. Is your dog feeling better? Or, hey, your son must be getting ready for college. And to have that knowledge of the community, I think is important, because we then aren't just an educational institution. We are a group of people committed to the goal of serving our students, but we know who we are. We know what our strengths are. We know who to go to for advice, for counsel. And really, yes, again, I think it's just a matter of making it a priority to get to know everybody.
Next question. Many presidents boast of an HSI status of their college, but don't take enough to advance retention, engagement, or student success of Hispanic students. What have you done to walk the HSI talk? And what steps would you take to support Latinx students?
That's a great question. You are clearly an HSI college. You have 67% about Latinx students. You currently, I think, have 2 HSI grants. I have, since the beginning of my career, Glendale College has held, and I have worked on at least 8 HSI grants. We currently hold 3. I've been instrumental in writing 2 of those grants, and I've worked to support them. And I do think that HSI grants do 2 things. One is that it brings resources to focus on Latinx populations and what those needs are. But more than that, it brings awareness. It brings an opportunity to identify the needs of specific populations, in this case, Latinx populations, to have those discussions. In building a grant proposal, in building an opportunity, we need to get out and identify the needs of that population, to understand who those students are, and to build services that are directly in relation to those needs. So I think it's a real opportunity. What would I do? Well, I have worked on all of those grants. I continue to work very closely with our Office of Hispanic Serving Initiatives. So I do think that it's an opportunity, and I do think that equity, generally speaking, is not something that we should view as secondary, as an optional. Equity is a part of our foundation. And equity means understanding who we are as a community, what makes up that community, and what the needs are. Otherwise, we can't effectively serve the needs of our population. And I think that equity extends not just to creating the general community. We speak a lot about sense of belonging and making sure that our students feel a sense of belonging where the college as a whole is concerned. And that's absolutely essential. But I think that sense of belonging extends into our classroom, creating equitable classroom practices, so that what happens in the learning environment is relevant to our students, is engaging to our students, because we know that relevance and engagement are learning. So when we talk about our Latinx population, what is relevant? What is necessary? What makes the learning that takes place in our classrooms effective for that and other populations? And it really comes down to understanding. It comes down to listening. It comes down to understanding what the data tell us, and with making a real effort to address the needs of our students specifically, not generally. One of the things I'm most proud of over the last few years is a collaboration that we've engaged with UCLA School of Education called Learning Together. And the focus of that was equitable classroom practice, but specifically, we were able to work with the School of Education to interview, I think it was 245 interviews with students to hear their voices, to understand what they thought of what we were doing, what they thought we needed. So to serve a specific population, to serve our population effectively as a whole, we need to understand who people are, and to make our efforts as college leaders address those needs directly.
The Ben Clark Public Safety Training Center is a partnership between many local, state, federal, and other constituents. As president, how will you work to foster the relationships between MVC and our public safety partners?
Wow. Well, the Ben Clark Center is really impressive. I must say, you are, as you're aware, one of the largest public safety academies in Southern California. So it's a real achievement, and to address the needs of the community on that level, law enforcement, fire, paramedics, is terrific. And how do we? The question is, how do we work together? I'm sorry, Julie, can you read that?
Yeah. How will you work to foster the relationships between MVC and these public safety partners?
Well, I think the question refers to the relationship between, largely to the relationship between the needs of the community and that larger community that your public safety academy represents, and the college itself. How do we form those relationships? And I was talking this morning with some of your vice presidents, and we were talking about the fact that you have this enormous wealth of talent that you can bring to bear on your public service academy. One of the advantages of law enforcement and fire enforcement is that we see retirements at an age when people are ready to enter second careers, people with 20, 30 years of experience that can bring that to bear on their ability to educate in a public service academy. You've also created a very comprehensive public service academy, and you've listened to the needs of our community. Yeah, your fire academy is terrific fire academy, but it also includes the Wildlands Fire, which other colleges are trying to expand into, and which you already have an advantage in. And obviously, Wildlands Fire is qualified personnel to combat wildlands fires is an enormous need in our community. I'm currently living in Sierra Madre, and the Altadena fire came to right at the end of my block. And to see the devastation that's created by that sort of thing is really a stark reminder of how important it is to create qualified personnel to address the situations that arise in those circumstances. And you're doing a great job. So how do we partner? I think we listen to the needs of the community. You've done a good job of responding to that, but how do we expand? What are the areas we need to expand into? And this speaks to the larger need to communicate with those around us, with our legislators, with our community leaders, with our business leaders, to find out what the needs of the community and the larger region are. So it is a public service academy, and we need to listen to the public, and we need to pay attention to the data, which tells us how we need to grow, how we need to expand, and where we need to focus.
And this next question has two pieces to it. You might want to wish to tackle them separately or combine them. So the first part is, what is your vision of AI in higher education? And then the other component is, what are your thoughts on distance education, its potentials and pitfalls?
Okay. Well, those are two questions. Yes, they're connected, but they're definitely two questions. AI in higher education. I think that's a topic that I hear more about than just about anything now. And what I would say to begin with is AI is a reality. AI is here. And early on, and by early on, I really mean just a couple years ago, what we heard was or the focus was, how can we combat AI? How can we keep AI out of our classroom and keep our students from using it, and to a certain extent enforce discipline if they do? And the answer is we can. AI is moving faster than that. AI is a part of the fabric, and it is changing higher education. And I think that the solution is to understand AI, understand what it's capable of, how it can serve us, and how we can most effectively address this sort of large presence in our classroom. And I was having this conversation with my son the other day, and my son is currently a college student, and he is vehemently opposed to AI. Um, and he said, and what I said to him is, you need to think about the fact that AI doesn't think. It will never replace us because it has no capacity for original thought or original creativity. By definition, it can only replicate. But it can, in fact, serve us in that replication, and in classroom activities. We can shape activities around AI so that our students understand how to use it effectively, what it can do and what it can't do, what it should do and what it should not do. And I don't think we can keep it out of our classrooms. It's not, that I think that ship has sailed. But I do think that we can work with it effectively. And the president I work with currently likens this to the calculator in the 1970s. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember this, my math teachers bemoaning the calculator as the end of math. We weren't going to be able to think anymore, or spell check on your computer. As English teachers, we thought, well, now the people aren't going to learn how to spell. Well, it's kind of true, isn't it? We don't really think too much about spelling anymore. But that's not always a bad thing, because we're thinking about other things. We're thinking about the higher order things. We're thinking about the substance rather than the fabric of what we're doing. And I think AI allows us, if used correctly, it allows us to move beyond the rudimentary and to engage with that, the larger theoretical and practical matters at hand. It allows us to create in ways that not that we weren't before, but which were more cumbersome before. So I do think there's a lot of possibility in AI. I also think that if used badly, if our students are simply left at sea to let AI write their papers for them, that then it inhibits learning. And then we deprive students of the opportunity to create that original thought. And we've all seen the product of AI, pure AI. It's not very good. It's rudimentary at best, but combined with original thought, it has real potential. In terms of distance education, which is the second part of this question, I think distance education has brought a lot of opportunity to us. It has, as we understood during the pandemic, it has to some extent become an equity issue. There are students who can't make it physically to a campus, and distance education allows them to participate in college education. It means that if you don't have transportation, if you have issues that don't allow you to leave your home, you can still get a college education. One of the things I hear, not so much anymore, but used to hear a lot of, is that distance education is less effective than in-person education. And I think that can be true. But I also think that that's not a proven fact at this point. What is a proven fact is that we don't know as much about distance education as we do about in-person education. Most of us have been many of us have been educators for decades in person. We're good at it. We're familiar with it. And it's uncomfortable when we're faced with a new form of education to become beginners again. It's not something we necessarily welcome. But distance education executed well can be very effective, can be as effective, but it does require an entirely different approach. It's not simply a matter of putting what we do in the classroom somehow in some secondary form up on the computer. It's a matter of approaching things entirely differently. And I do believe it can be very effective. And at this point, it is pervasive. So I think it's incumbent upon us to understand how to do that effectively. And at Glendale, certainly during the pandemic, we were 100% remote, whether it was remote synchronous or asynchronous. Now, as we're returning, we're about 50-50, which is before the pandemic, we were about 80-20. So it's not going to come back to a fully in-person experience for college education. Distance education will always be part of our fabric. And it necessarily so, as I said, it's an equity issue on some levels. So understanding how to do this well is really important for all of us. And understanding also what it does well. There are things that don't work as well, certainly with distance education. It's very difficult to do lab work. Your public safety academy is going to be very difficult to operate on a distance basis. I don't think you can learn to fight fires in distance education. But certainly there are other areas where it is very effective and very necessary. So it's something that we need to come to terms with, be knowledgeable about. Do you have a distance education certification program? That's important to become proficient in that methodology and to stay proficient in that methodology because it's changing rapidly. It's getting better every day. But we do, again, need to know how to use it.
Your next question is, COVID seriously impacted African-American males. Enrollment numbers are not yet back to pre-COVID numbers. What is your plan to ensure the return of African-American males back to MVC and related programs?
Well, I think enrollment, generally speaking, is just recovering from what we saw in the pandemic. I looked at your enrollment numbers and you were, what, about 16,000 head count before the pandemic, and you're just about there back to that now. So it's been a dip for all of us, and bringing students back to the campus is a challenge that we need to face head on. The question of African American males, I think, is also coming back to what I started with, which is how do we make education engaging and relevant for our students? And that means understanding who our students are, what their needs are, what their interests are, and addressing those directly. And as educators, especially as faculty members, this means bringing this directly into the classroom, making the content of our classes, the curriculum, relevant to our students. And being relevant to African American males is not a universal thing. Everyone is not the same person, but it does mean, as it means for Latinx students, as it means for other Asian students, it means understanding who our students are, what their backgrounds are, and giving them an opportunity to express themselves in the classroom in a way that is relevant and engaging to them. And if we do that, we will continue to build on the populations that come to us. If it is true that the best way to increase our student population is through word of mouth, and if a particular community is expressing that they have a sense of belonging on a campus, that what is happening on the campus is relevant to them, to their goals, to their lives, then they will tell their friends that, they will tell their families that. And you will attract more students that way. So again, I'm gonna come back to the fact that we need to make what we do here relevant to African American or Black males and to every other student population. but it is a challenge, and it is something especially as classroom faculty, we need to be aware of, that we need to include our students in the educational experience, not simply impose the educational experience on them.
Given the current political climate, what specific actions will you take to ensure undocumented students, regardless of DACA status, have equitable access to resources, feel safe on campus, and are supported academically, financially, and emotionally throughout their college journey?
We do exist in a time of uncertainty. That is certain. One of the things I was impressed with when I came onto your campus was one of the first things I saw was a poster that said, and I believe it's Together We Rise. And I've seen that all over campus. And I think that's really essential to reaffirm that need, that commitment to our students, and especially to those students who may feel a threat at this time. I also think it's very important to understand the nature of that threat. It's at this point just that, a threat. And one of the pieces of advice which has been most consistent as far as what we've sought out from our chancellor's office, from our legislators, and from our legal counsel is that at this point we should not overreact. We should not assume that we need to pull back on support for anyone or any program. That we should continue in our to provide resources and most of all to commitment to the programs that we have already established, and to building new and better programs to serve our students, especially those who are face uncertainty on a number of levels. Our undocumented students certainly being a primary example of that population. So how do we do that? We reaffirm our commitment. We make that commitment public. And as we face threats, we make sure that those threats are real. It's important to know where our vulnerabilities are, or our potential vulnerabilities are, and who might face those vulnerabilities, and provide resources to combat any threat that comes our way. To understand things like what happens if agents of the federal government come onto our campus. What is our responsibility in terms of our response? What resources do our students have available to them? We've been distributing cards to students that identify their rights, and to faculty. What is a faculty member's responsibility if that should happen? We're very fortunate. We have not seen any incursions against our students, but we are ready. We're ready to face that possibility. I think every campus needs to take responsibility for that. But it's also important to understand that it's a threat at this point. And that it does not mean that we should change the way we do anything. We should continue in the face of that threat.
What is your experience with CTE programs with outside accreditation requirements, and how do you plan on supporting them?
I think I've been through this with a number of programs, most notably our nursing program, which undergoes accreditation and certification every couple of years. We also do this with our paramedic program and with our nursing assistant program. And supporting these programs means knowing what the requirements are for accreditation, what the needs are. Very specifically, what the responsibility of the college is. Do we need to hire specific personnel to manage these programs? What are the requirements of that management? Have we provided sufficient resources and time for the faculty and staff in those programs to meet those accreditation requirements? And when those accreditation requirements come around, Have we provided adequate support from an administrative standpoint, from a college standpoint? Have we provided resources and facilities that meet their needs? So a lot of it is really understanding the requirements and understanding what it is that we're undertaking when we start a program. I think when we started our non-credit nursing assistant program, we had a very well-intentioned faculty member who started it but didn't really understand exactly what was necessary to create that program and to have it accredited. And so we entered into the program, and then we had to backtrack, and we had to hire 2 new personnel. We had to build specific facilities, and we did, because I think it really is a good stepping stone for our non-credit students. But it was a lesson in planning, and it was a lesson in understanding and budgeting. And I think we really have to be aware of what our obligations are as we enter into that, and then very specifically plan for meeting those obligations.
Follow-up. How will you secure that classified professional jobs and funding for special programs are ensured while increasing enrollment?
So as I said before, when we begin a program which requires external certification or accreditation, we need to understand exactly what that undertaking involves, and not have the expectation that faculty members will simply fill in, or that our classified professionals will somehow absorb additional responsibilities in relation to the programs we start. We need to be very intentional. And one of the things this college is very good at is intentional planning, and making sure that we choose the areas on which we focus and what we prioritize so that we can accomplish it well. And where classified professionals are concerned, as we're all aware, hiring classified can be more difficult than hiring in other areas. It requires a different sort of commitment. When we hire a classified professional, we hire someone comprehensively as a college, not necessarily limited to one program. So when we hire someone to manage a program, we need to ensure the viability of that program, and that we have understood the commitment of resources that's involved with making that program work, and that our expectations as a college, as an administration, are reasonable. How do we increase enrollment? I think increasing enrollment is well, enrollment management, as I always say, isn't one thing, it's everything. And increasing enrollment in specific programs means having a high quality program, but it means helping the community to understand that we have that program, what the opportunities associated with that program are. And as we build a program, it's important to build programs that will provide for our students in the largest sense. In other words, that we are not, one of my favorite phrases, educating our students into poverty. In other words, creating a specialized program that will provide a job for our students, which does not provide a living wage. So as we create these specialized programs, making sure that they're going to serve our students, not just in the immediate sense in terms of providing a credential, but in terms of providing a living wage once they leave the program. And increasing enrollment means doing that well. If we accomplish that, we will increase enrollment, because the relevance and the opportunity provided by the program will become apparent.
A multi-part question, so I can repeat it. Statistics show students involved in extracurricular or leadership activities have higher rates of success and retention. How will you help ensure and encourage students have spaces to gather, hold events, and have group or club activities, which is currently limited at this time? And then the second part is, what is your plan to attract, engage, and retain students at MVC who are from historically underserved communities?
Well, the question has many parts, yes, but essentially addresses the idea of engagement. And engagement is learning. If we can engage our students will persist. If we can engage our students, it means that we've shown them the relevance of our programming, of our college to their lives. It means that they know why they're here, that they have a sense of belonging both in the college and in the classroom. So I think that's where we start with student engagement, is that it is possibly the most essential part of educating our population. The question also speaks to resources. How do we provide resources for our students to make sure that they have a place to gather, that they have opportunity, and that as a college, we promote that opportunity and provide the foundation that's necessary. And I'm pleased to see that in the last 10 years, we've really seen an increase in student engagement and in college's willingness to understand and listen to the student voice. And student organizations, affinity groups, and others are a really important way for students to express themselves, to feel a part of the college. At Glendale, what we did was we had a number of organizations that were requesting space. And it became apparent that we couldn't simply say, well, you can use an empty classroom. We can schedule you in. That we needed a dedicated space. So when we went to remodel one of our science buildings after we built a new science facility. So one of the old science buildings stands empty, and we turned the second floor into a student engagement center by and for the students. And we asked students what they needed. And how they wanted us to execute. They said they wanted individual spaces for affinity groups. We provided that. They said they wanted a larger gathering space. We provided that. They said they wanted counseling. We provided that. So it's really a commitment on the part of the college to provide the resources that are necessary and to understand the importance of students' ability to create engagement for themselves, and to promote that as a college, to understand the importance of providing not only resources but support for student organizations, for clubs, and for affinity groups. So how do we provide resources? We make it a priority as a college, and we understand that providing that opportunity for students isn't just a nice thing to do, a secondary thing, but will attract students, will help us retain students because they will be more engaged with the college. And so it's a central responsibility as well. How do we increase enrollment? We make our college engaging for our students so that they stay, so that more students come.
How do you plan to integrate guided pathways and support the Student Services Department?
Well, Guided Pathways is a really terrific platform, and I think it has really transformed community college education, and certainly Tom Bailey's book, Transforming Community Colleges, is the foundation of Guided Pathways. Tom Bailey and his colleagues. I always say Tom Bailey because when my dissertation advisor was a friend of his, and after that book, shortly after that book came out, I was having lunch with him, and he said, "Hey, I was having lunch with my friend Tom Bailey, and he wrote this terrific book. You should check it out." And so I got the book, and I was just amazed. And within 3 or 4 months, everybody had read the book. Redesigning America's Community Colleges, and everybody realized the potential of what that book had to offer. And part of that potential is the fact that it had decades of research behind it. It wasn't just somebody's idea. It was the result of the community college research center's work over a period of 10 years and of all of those people who got together to do this. But it's a really amazing foundation. The question is, how do you integrate it into student services? Well, the principle of guided pathways is not academic. The principle of guided pathways is that we turn the perception of the college around from an institution-centered perspective to a student-centered perspective. In other words, we reimagine our colleges from the perspective of the student, and we eliminate the barriers that occur. So the principle of a pathway starts from the point where a student encounters the college for the first time, the website, walking up from the street, whatever it is, and that we make that college welcoming and accessible to our students. And welcoming and accessible are certainly something that happens in a classroom, but that's not the first place it happens. The first place it happens is in student services. The first place it happens is in admissions and records. When a student comes up to introduce themselves to our classified personnel, when they go through our financial aid process. These are the places where students meet our college and where the pathway begins. Guided Pathways is a path. Right? It is designed to make college more accessible for students, but you can't getting on the path, that first pillar of Guided Pathways, isn't about what happens in the classroom. It's about what happens in student services in the college. In terms of making sure that we have facilitated those pathways. Now, you've done a great job. One of the things I really like about MVC is that, again, you are designing rather than redesigning. You're a young college, so you have the opportunity to build, and you've decided to build on Guided Pathways, which is a terrific opportunity. And I think that again, it's all of us together. Guided Pathways isn't instruction. It is, ensuring student learning, staying on the path, are in part instructional responsibilities, although I would argue very much that they are shared responsibilities among our student services, classified professionals, and administrators, and right? That it is a shared responsibility. And one of the complaints I heard about Guided Pathways early on was this idea that we're restricting students, right? We're making sure we're pigeonholing them. And I remember being hiking one day near where I live, and I thought, well, I'm on this path that's designated by the Forest Service, and I could leave the path, and I could strike out into the woods by myself. Unfortunately, there's poison oak. Where I live, there's lots of bears. There's the opportunity to fall off a cliff. There's all these things that get in my way, right? That inhibit my progress. And it may be that I could sort of discover new things by leaving the path, but ultimately, if the path facilitates my experience in moving through this environment. And I think that's what Guided Pathways is designed to do. It's not a restriction. It's helping that student, and it's not an instructional responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. And ultimately, Guided Pathways is that platform on which we build a college, not an instructional program.
And we're going to be able to get to one last question before we ask you to close it out. So we're going to ask for a brief response. If you are the selected candidate, how do you intend to reside in the community?
Well, yes. I don't think it's possible not to as a president. I'm currently in Sierra Madre, and I drove down here last night, and it was just over an hour without traffic. And I don't think that being being a president of a college and living an hour away is really compatible. I think you have to have some sort of residence in the community. And I talked to my wife about this when I decided to apply for the job, and we both agreed that this would have to be something that we considered, and on what level we consider it. We're still talking about it, but the answer is yes. I think the president needs to be part of the community.
And now with 4 to 5 minutes remaining, we'd like you to make a closing statement.
Okay. Hope you don't mind. I made some notes. I'm getting old, so better for me to be able to look at my notes. I do again want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, to answer your questions. I want to thank the search committee as well for all of you who've put time into this search. I know it's a big undertaking, and again, I think it speaks to MVC's commitment to intentionality, to doing things well. If you're going to do something, you do it well. You deserve all the credit. But I do want to thank all of you for taking your time this afternoon. I know you're busy. I want to thank the constituency groups that came out this morning to have conversations with me. I really did enjoy those conversations. I appreciated your questions and your interest. And I appreciated the opportunity to learn more about the college. I'd also like to say that this kind of forum for me is really important for leadership. I think one of the most effective ways to understand the community and to understand its needs and the various perspectives on issues is to have an open forum, to allow people who are interested, who are going to be affected by an issue or a decision, to come together and talk about it openly without a filter. Anybody who wants to show up and have a conversation should be welcome to do that. And that certainly occurs on an individual basis, heading out, getting to know people, as we talked about earlier, but it also occurs in forums like this. And your attendance at a forum like this is also indicative of your commitment to the college and to the community. So thank you again for that. I would like to emphasize that my understanding of what it takes to lead a college comes not only from my instructional experience, but from my partnerships throughout the college, working with my student services colleagues, with my classified professional colleague, and with students, that we build this together. And I think that we need to understand all of the aspects that help us to build that college, that my understanding is not just of instruction. That's been where my career has resided, but also from the importance of fiscal responsibility, of budgeting, of understanding the needs of accreditation, of understanding the needs of the community, understanding the needs of individuals, and above all, understanding the needs of our students. As I've indicated, I come to I don't come to this lightly. I chose Marino Valley College because I think you represent an extraordinary opportunity to build something significant and important, and that the foundation that you've already laid is impressive. And I would like to be a part of that community. Most of all, I want to emphasize that I know that our service to students requires a collective commitment. It's not the vision of a president, it's a vision of a community. And as I've said to the constituent groups this morning, I understand that presidents can't do everything, but I also understand that presidents are responsible for everything. So I don't take that lightly. I think we all do this together, but I understand that leadership is about responsibility, and for taking responsibility for working with all of you to create to realize the vision that you've established for yourselves and to build on that vision. So again, thank you so much for inviting me here today. It's been a great experience. You have a great college, and I certainly hope to be a part of its future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today. If you have not completed your form, please feel free to do so, and we will be collecting it. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much.